The man standing at my door had the kind of face you don't forget. Buzz cut. Square jaw. That faint, smug smile like he already knew how this was going to go. He cleared his throat, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "You might want to sit down for this." I didn't. He nodded once and dropped the bomb anyway. "I'm the real father of your kids." At first, I laughed. It wasn't a joke, but I needed it to be one. My hands twitched at my sides, itching to do something, anything, punch a wall, slam the door, scream. But all I managed was, "What the hell did you just say?" He didn't flinch. He just handed me a manila folder like we were trading documents in a courtroom. Inside were photos, screenshots, DMs, dates, conversations, pictures of him and my wife, Lily, together. Some of them were intimate, too intimate for any explanation that wouldn't shatter everything I knew. My knees buckled. I sat. He kept going. "Look, I didn't come here to start a fight. I just found out myself. She told me she was leaving you. Said the kids needed their real dad. But I didn't want them growing up with lies." I couldn't breathe. My heart was pounding in my ears, drowning out everything else. But I still heard his last words. "I called the police once I realized what she's been doing. You should too." After he left, I stood there for a long time, still as a statue, watching the door, waiting for it to open, for Lily to come in and say it was all some twisted mistake. But the only thing that greeted me was silence and the hum of the fridge that suddenly felt louder than a scream. An hour later, she came home, wearing her usual smug grin, high heels tapping across the hardwood like nothing was wrong. "Hey babe, what's for dinner?" Like we were just some happy sitcom couple and she hadn't spent years lying through her perfect teeth. I didn't say a word. Instead, I walked over to the safe where I kept my passport, the house deed, a stash of cash for emergencies. It was empty. Every single thing was gone. She had already moved, already made plans, already decided how my life would unravel and taken the tools I'd need to escape with her. She looked at me, not confused, no, not Lily. She looked bored, annoyed, like I was some inconvenience that refused to just disappear. "What's with the face?" she said, chewing gum like a damn teenager. "Did someone finally tell you the truth?" I wanted to ask how long, how many times, how she could sit across from me at dinner, help our daughter with homework, kiss me goodbye in the mornings, and still live a double life like it was some twisted game. But all I said was, "Why?" She shrugged. "Because I could. Because you were easy. Because you didn't see it." That smile, so cold, so casual, it made something in me snap. I walked out of the house that night. Didn't take a jacket. Didn't grab my phone. Just walked. She didn't stop me. Didn't even ask where I was going. She'd already won her game. But she made one mistake. She thought I was done. She thought I'd give up. She forgot who I was before I became dad and husband. And tomorrow? Tomorrow, I start writing my own ending. The next morning, I woke up on the floor of my friend Jacob's garage. Cold concrete against my back. Head pounding. Heart racing. The kind of sleep where you don't rest. You just black out. Jacob found me around 6 a.m., crouched beside me like I was roadkill. "Dude," he whispered. "You look like hell." "Thanks," I muttered, sitting up. He handed me a cup of black coffee. No questions yet. Just that kind of quiet support only a real friend can give. I stared into the cup, trying to piece together what part of my life was still real. My name? My job? My kids? Were they even mine? That man at my door, Daniel, his name was in one of the DMs. Lily had called him the one she should have married. In another message, she said I was just a stepping stone, a means to an end. She even laughed about how easy I was to fool. My blood boiled just remembering it. I didn't tell Jacob everything yet. Just the basics. Lily had been cheating. For years. She had stolen my documents, emptied the emergency safe, and let another man believe he was the true father of my kids. And the worst part? I still didn't know if he was right. That morning, I went back to the house. Not to see her. She was already gone, as expected, but to see my kids. Emily, age 7, and Cole, just 4. They were eating cereal, cartoons on in the background. Innocent. Smiling. Still calling me daddy. And it shattered me. Lily had left a sticky note on the fridge like it was any other Wednesday. Doctor's appointment at 2. Don't forget to feed the cat. L? Nothing about the man who showed up. Nothing about the lies. Nothing about the betrayal she injected into our home like poison. I texted her. We need to talk. Now. Lily, what's there to talk about? You already know. No apology. No guilt. Not even fake tears. Just smugness. Later that day, I called the police. Told them about the stolen documents. They took the report seriously, asked for her name, her photo, copies of the safe's contents. But I could tell, they thought it was a messy domestic thing, not a crime. That's when I called a lawyer. Divorce lawyer. Private investigator. DNA testing service. I wasn't just hurt anymore. I was ready for war. The PI, a guy named Terry, promised to dig through everything. Phone records, bank transfers, travel logs. He said Lily had been to New Orleans last year. Twice. I'd only known about one of those trips. The other one? She told me she was going to visit her sister in Phoenix. So many lies, I was starting to wonder if I ever knew the woman I married. That night, I sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at a framed photo from our wedding. She wore white. I wore hope. I remember thinking back then that I had won the lottery with Lily, smart, sexy, confident. But now? Now I saw the smirk behind the smile. The calculation in her eyes. She married me not out of love, but out of convenience. I was the safe bet. The guy who'd never cheat, never lie, who'd work late and pay the bills, who'd be too busy being loyal to notice the knife she was planting in my back. Well, guess what? I noticed, and it was my turn now. I looked at my kids sleeping peacefully in their beds, and I swore to myself, no matter what that DNA test said, I was their father. Because I showed up. Because I stayed. Because I loved them without needing proof. Lily could burn everything down if she wanted. But I'd be the one walking out of the flames, not her. I couldn't sleep. Not that night. Not after the DNA kits arrived. I stared at the swabs like they were weapons. In a way, they were. Proof. Final answers. I wanted the truth, but I was terrified of it. What if Emily and Cole weren't mine? What if I'd been raising someone else's kids while Lily laughed behind my back? Still, I swabbed their cheeks gently while they slept. Whispered a soft, sorry, they'd never hear. They looked so peaceful, tiny arms tucked under pillows, unaware that their entire world was teetering on the edge of collapse. They deserved better than this. Better than her. The samples went in the envelopes. I sealed them like closing a coffin. And then I waited. But I didn't sit still. The next day, I dug through the digital wreckage. Her iPad was still connected to our home network. She must have forgotten it when she ran, or maybe she thought I'd never have the nerve to dig. She didn't know me at all. I opened the messages. Hundreds of them. Between her and Daniel. Between her and another name, KC. Some conversations overlapped. Days where she texted both of them, calling each one her, only one. This wasn't just cheating. It was a lifestyle. A system. Like she had departments. One for thrills, one for backup, one for fatherhood. I wasn't even a person to her anymore. I was a placeholder. I found an old message she wrote to Daniel. He's too dumb to catch on. Perfect husband type. Boring but useful. That one gutted me. I wasn't perfect. I was tired. I worked too much. I forgot anniversaries sometimes. But I loved her. I cooked when she was sick. I rubbed her back when she cried over nothing. I held her when her dad died. I was there. But I wasn't enough. No, that's not it. I was never supposed to be enough. I was just part of her plan. I went to the bank and checked our joint account. She had transferred $12,000 to a personal account 2 days before that man showed up. No warning. No explanation. Just vanished. That money was supposed to be for Cole's preschool. And then I saw the transaction history from the account she transferred to. Airbnb in Miami. Jewelry store in San Diego. Rental car in Nevada. She wasn't hiding anymore. She was living out loud. I sent screenshots to the PI. Follow every trail, I wrote. And I sat down to write a letter. Not to her. To my kids. Emily and Cole, I wrote, one day, when you're old enough to understand, I want you to read this. I want you to know I never left you. Even when everything fell apart, I stayed. I fought. I bled. And I never stopped loving you, no matter what anyone said. Halfway through writing it, I broke down. Slammed my fist into the counter. Collapsed on the floor like some guy in a bad movie. But it wasn't a movie. It was my life. My actual life, and she had treated it like a stage play she could rewrite when she got bored of the script. That night, I received a message from a number I didn't know. Unknown. You don't know the half of what she's done. My heart stopped. I replied instantly. Me. Who is this? Unknown. Let's just say I've been where you are. She did it to me too. Meet me tomorrow. You'll want to see this in person. Another twist. Another name? Another victim? I didn't trust it. But I couldn't ignore it either. Lily's secrets weren't buried. They were still alive, crawling up through the cracks. Tomorrow, I'd dig deeper. And whatever I found, I'd make sure she'd never be able to bury me in lies again. The next morning came fast, and I barely felt like I'd closed my eyes. I stared at the mystery text on my phone, wondering if I'd finally lost it. Maybe I was seeing ghosts. Maybe I was chasing shadows. But something in me, call it gut instinct, call it trauma, believed it. The message came from someone who knew Lily. Someone who had been where I am. I had to meet them. The location was a rundown diner off Highway 46. A place where secrets felt at home. The kind of place where no one asks questions if someone's crying into their pancakes. I pulled up just before 9 a.m. and scanned the lot. An old Ford truck sat 2 spaces down from mine, and a man stepped out as I killed the engine. Tall, maybe 6 feet 2 inches. Thick-built. Wore a baseball cap low over his eyes. He looked like the type who'd been through hell and figured out how to live there. He waved me over. "Name's Brandon," he said, voice like gravel. "Nick," I replied, shaking his hand. "You said you knew Lily." Brandon gave a humorless chuckle and slid into the booth across from me. He tossed a folder onto the table between us. "Yeah, I knew her. I married her." I blinked. "You what?" "For years ago. Vegas. Quick wedding, quick divorce." At least that's what I thought. He opened the folder. Turns out she never filed the papers. She used a fake name for the annulment request. So technically, we're still married. My stomach dropped. She was a bigamist. This wasn't some casual affair, this was criminal. Brandon continued. She cleaned me out, too. Sold my watch collection. Emptied my savings. Left a note that said, "Thanks for the ride." I thought I was the only sucker. Then I saw your name when her email got hacked and leaked online. He slid a photo across the table. Lily, wearing a red dress, clinging to Brandon's arm, laughing like she hadn't stolen years from both of us. "She used us both," I said, feeling bile rise in my throat. Brandon nodded. "Probably more than just us two. She's got aliases. Different bank accounts. Might be scamming someone else as we speak." I leaned back in the booth, stunned. The picture was taken just a month before our wedding. That meant she was engaged to me while married to him. And she had the audacity to look me in the eye and tell me I was her everything. Brandon reached into his pocket and pulled out a flash drive. These are her files. Old emails. Photos. Credit applications under different names. I kept them for leverage. Figured one day she'd come crawling back, and I'd bury her. I took the drive, staring at the small plastic device like it held a nuclear weapon. "Why help me now?" I asked. He paused, then shrugged. "Because I see that look in your eye. I had it too. And no one deserves to walk through this mess alone." I nodded slowly, feeling a strange mixture of gratitude and rage. Before we parted ways, Brandon said one last thing. "You ever notice how she never talks about her childhood?" "Yeah," I said. "She always brushed it off. Said it was boring." Brandon smirked. "That's because it's full of secrets. And not the kind that make you cry, the kind that make you run." On the drive home, I couldn't stop thinking about it. How many layers of lies were there? How deep did her game go? If she was still married to Brandon, was our marriage even legal? Was anything real? When I got home, I walked past the kids' room and peeked in. They were coloring. Innocent. Shielded from the storm swirling around them. But I knew it wouldn't last. Not with the things I just learned. Lily wasn't just unfaithful. She was a professional liar. A fraud. A predator. And I had the flash drive to prove it. She had taken everything from me. Now I was going to take it all back. I sat in the dark, lit only by the glow of my laptop screen. The kids were asleep upstairs. The house was quiet, almost too quiet, the kind that makes your skin crawl because you know you're sitting on a landmine. I plugged in the flash drive. It whirred to life, and suddenly, Brandon's face wasn't just a stranger in a diner anymore. He was a lifeline. The folders opened like trapdoors. Lily_aliases, bank_transfers, marriage_records, conversations. Everything she thought she buried was here. And it was uglier than I imagined. In one email thread, she was arranging to meet a guy in Houston, some rich divorce she had met at a conference. She sent him photos. Intimate. Explicit. Called him future daddy, and said she was finally ready to start a real family. That was dated 2 months after our son Cole was born. I read through the email, again and again, until the words blurred. Then I moved to the banking records. 6 accounts. All in different names. She'd been siphoning money from our joint accounts for years, $10 here, $200 there. Unnoticeable on their own. But it added up. Over $60,000. She bought a condo in California with it, under the name Lana McKenzie. I wanted to scream. I wanted to punch something. But instead, I sat there, trembling, replaying the conversations we used to have about saving for the future. She'd always say she was being smart, putting aside for the kids' college for emergencies. Turns out I was the emergency, and she'd been saving for her escape. Then I saw the file named Diary, a Word document. She had kept a diary. I hesitated. My hands were shaking as I opened it. It was formatted like a memoir, each entry labeled with a city, a date, and a man's name. Denver, March 2019. Brandon. Brandon's sweet. Too sweet. Trust too easy. Big arms, big heart, tiny brain. I'll ride this wave until I find someone better. Or richer. Or both. Chicago, June 2020. Nick. Nick's the jackpot. Steady job, desperate for love. He worships me already. I'll marry him, give him the perfect wife show for a couple of years, then drain what I need and vanish. Kids help, gives me leverage. He'll never see it coming. I couldn't read anymore. I slammed the laptop shut and sat there, my hands gripping the edge of the table so hard my knuckles went white. She had planned this. Every lie. Every kiss. Every night we spent watching dumb TV shows and laughing like we were normal. None of it was real. And then, I remembered the DNA test. It had been 5 days. I checked my email. The subject line hit me like a freight train. Your DNA results are ready. My hands hovered over the mouse. I clicked. Waited. Scrolled. And then I saw it. Probability of paternity, 0%. Emily, not mine. Cole, not mine. The room spun. The walls felt like they were closing in. I couldn't breathe. All this time, all the lullabies, the scraped knees I kissed, the bedtime stories, the first steps, they weren't mine. But here's the thing. They still felt like mine. They looked for me when they cried, called me daddy, reached for me when they were scared. Lily may have broken the truth, but she couldn't erase the love I'd built. I stared at the flash drive one more time, and then I picked up my phone. I dialed my lawyer. We're moving forward, I said, voice cold and flat. With divorce? She asked. No, I replied. With everything. I want full custody. I want criminal charges. I want her exposed. And I want her to feel the kind of pain she thought she was immune to. Because Lily didn't just cheat. She tried to erase me. Now I'd show her what it's like to lose everything. I waited until the weekend. I knew Lily would come back eventually. She always did. She was like a storm that circled back once it got bored of ruining someone else's life. And like clockwork, Sunday afternoon, I saw her white BMW pull into the driveway like she still owned the place. She stepped out with sunglasses on and that same smug look on her face. Designer bag, fresh nails, tight jeans, and not a single hint of shame. She didn't know I knew everything. Not yet. She walked in like she hadn't gutted my life. Hey, I need my skincare stuff from the bathroom, she called, already halfway up the stairs. Also, I'll be taking that photo of Emily on the swing. It was my favorite. I didn't respond. She turned, standing on the stairs, hand on the rail, finally noticing my silence. Nick? She asked, like she was annoyed. I stood in the living room, holding the manila folder that started it all. Her eyes flicked down to it, then back up to me. What's that? She asked slowly. You tell me, I said, tossing it onto the coffee table. The contents spilled across the wood. Photos of her with Daniel, the DNA test results, copies of her bank transfers, marriage records with Brandon, the diary. Everything. Her lips parted just slightly. No gasp. No denial. Just silence. And then that fake-ass laugh. Well, you've been busy. You ruined lives, I said, my voice shaking. You lied to my face for years. And for what? Money? Attention? Just because you could. She dropped the sunglasses onto her head. Don't be so dramatic. You think you were some perfect husband? You were boring, Nick. Predictable. You made it easy. Is that how you justify this? You call me boring so you can F*** around with strangers and steal from your own kids. They're not yours, she said, with that same icy calm that used to chill me during our fights. You said it yourself. So don't pretend this is about them. I stepped forward. You're right. They're not mine by blood, but they're mine in every way that matters. And you? You're nothing to them but a selfish woman who walked out. She rolled her eyes. Please, spare me the martyr act. You think you're some hero because you played daddy for a few years? You weren't built for this. You don't know what it's like to need more, to deserve more. You deserve prison. Her face changed. Just for a moment. A flicker of panic. Then, just as quickly, it was gone. You wouldn't, she said. I smiled. Already filed the report. The investigator has your fake IDs, your bank logs, and a copy of that sweet little diary you wrote. She lunged at the table, grabbing for the folder, but I stopped her. I didn't touch her. I just stepped between her and the evidence. Don't, I said, low and steady. She looked at me like she wanted to scratch my eyes out. You think you can take me down? You think I'll just vanish? I always land on my feet, Nick. I stared at her, the woman I once thought I'd grow old with. Now, she looked like a stranger in a mask that had finally cracked. You're going to land under this time. She stepped back, lips tight, breathing heavy. Then, with a final flick of her hair, she hissed, you just made the biggest mistake of your life. I opened the door for her. No, I said. That was marrying you. She stormed out without another word. I watched her go, knowing this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. She wasn't the type to disappear quietly. She'd claw. She'd threaten. She'd burn what she couldn't steal. But I wasn't scared of her anymore. She could play games. I was done playing. Next time she showed up, she'd be the one facing questions she couldn't lie her way out of. The silence after she left was louder than the shouting. The door slammed, but the echo it left behind stayed like smoke in the air, thick, bitter, choking. I stood still for a long moment, my hands still trembling. Not from fear. From adrenaline. From fury. From relief. She knew. She finally knew I wasn't the fool she thought I was. But I wasn't ready for what happened next. An hour later, I got a call from Emily's school. Mr. Carson, hi, the principal said, voice tense. Emily's mother came by to pick her up, but something felt off. She didn't have her usual documents, and Emily refused to go with her. My blood froze. Where's my daughter now? She's safe. We didn't release her. But I think you should come down. I was out the door in seconds. When I got there, Emily ran into my arms, tears already falling. Daddy, Mommy was mad. She said I had to come now, that we were going on a special trip. But she didn't sound like Mommy. I held her tighter than I ever had before. My little girl, braver than I'd ever known. She's not taking you, I whispered. Not today. Not ever. I sat down with the principal and explained what was happening, the fake marriages, the fraud, the DNA test. He looked stunned but nodded, understanding the seriousness. You should get legal protection, he said. Immediately. That night, I filed for an emergency restraining order. My lawyer expedited the request, and with the mountain of evidence we had, the judge signed off the next morning. Lily was now officially barred from seeing the kids without court supervision. The fallout started immediately. First came the texts. Lily, you're unbelievable. You turned my children against me. Lily, you're a coward. You couldn't satisfy me, so you're punishing me. Lily, I swear to God, Nick, you'll regret this. Then came the blocked numbers. Then the burner phones. Then the emails. Each message was a mix of desperation and venom. One moment she was apologizing, the next she was threatening to destroy me. Saying she'd tell the kids everything, twist the truth, rewrite the story, paint me as the monster. But I'd already started telling the truth myself. I sat Emily and Cole down. I didn't tell them everything, they were too young, but I told them enough. That sometimes people lie, even people we love. That their mom was sick in a way that made her hurt people. That no matter what, I would always be there for them. Emily just nodded quietly. Cole hugged my leg and whispered, "You're still my daddy." It shattered me and healed me all at once. The next day, the investigator called. "You're going to want to sit down," Terry said. I braced myself. She's not in the state anymore. She booked a flight to Mexico using one of her fake identities. But she slipped up. She used a credit card tied to the condo in San Diego. That's federal fraud. We're forwarding everything to the authorities now. She was running, not fighting. Running. Because she knew what was coming. The legal process moved fast now, criminal charges for fraud, bigamy, identity theft, and attempting to abduct minors without consent. And with the restraining order in place, I had full custody until the court ruled otherwise. Still, I didn't feel like I'd won. Because I wasn't fighting for revenge. I was fighting for peace. For my kids. For the life she tried to erase. That night, I stood outside on the porch while the kids slept. The stars looked clearer than they had in months. And for the first time since the man knocked on my door and said he was the father of my kids, I finally felt like I was breathing again. A month passed. No knocks on the door. No messages from unknown numbers. No sudden appearances from Lily in some dramatic last-ditch effort to claw her way back into our lives. She was gone for real this time. The charges stuck. The feds were building a case, and the DA had already issued an arrest warrant. She hadn't returned to the U.S. since fleeing to Mexico. Word was, she tried using another fake passport, got flagged, and went underground. But honestly, I didn't care where she went anymore. Because she had already lost. And I'd survived. My days became quieter, more structured. Morning walks with Cole to daycare. Emily's soccer practices. Late-night laundry. Grocery runs. Reading the same bedtime story 3 nights in a row because they both couldn't get enough of it. And every once in a while, a flash of what we went through would try to creep in. A sound, a scent, a phrase that would twist my gut and whisper, you let her into your world. You trusted her. But the difference now was, I didn't run from it. I let it hurt. And then I let it go. I sat with my pain like it was an old friend. I listened to it. Let it remind me what I'd lived through, not to torture myself, but to honor the man I was becoming. One night, after putting the kids to bed, I sat in the living room with a whiskey in my hand and my laptop open. I scrolled through old pictures. Some had Lily in them. I hovered over the delete button more than once. But I didn't click it. Those moments weren't fake to me. Maybe they were to her, but not to me. I had loved her the only way I knew how fully. And even if she weaponized that love, even if she spat on it, I wasn't going to erase the man who gave everything for his family. He deserved better. I deserved better. I drafted a letter that night. Not to Lily. Not to the lawyers. To other men like me. If you're reading this, and you're in the middle of the wreckage, hear me out. She may have lied to you. She may have broken things in you that will take years to rebuild. You'll question your own instincts, your sanity, your worth. You'll hate that you didn't see it sooner. You'll hate her. But eventually, you'll get through it. You'll stop defining yourself by her betrayal. You'll stop asking why. And you'll start asking what's next. That's when you know you're healing. Not when the anger fades, but when it no longer owns you. Keep fighting. Not for revenge. Not to prove her wrong. Fight to reclaim yourself. Your peace. Your truth. I saved the file. Maybe one day I'd post it. Or maybe I'd just keep it as a reminder that I survived the worst hurricane of my life and walked out of it with scars that made me wiser, not weaker. As for Emily and Cole, they never asked again about where she went. Maybe they already knew. Maybe kids feel more than they understand. What mattered is this. They laughed louder now, slept better, smiled more. And every time they ran into my arms and called me Daddy, it was a reminder. Blood doesn't make you a father. Love does. Time does. Staying does. Lily had tried to take everything from me. But in the end, she only freed me from her poison and left me with everything that truly mattered.